I'm with Father Eamon Kelly, and Father, it's so good to see you today.
I'm happy that you have that pleasure.
Well, it's been a few months, so I need to get back to Magdala, and I need to come and see you again. I think I was tied back to you. I was surprised at the reception of my Mary Magdalene cave video. Uh,
Congratulations on a
thank
viral video.
we had an incredible uh, visit to St. Mary Magdalene's cave, and then we came and we saw you in January, late January of 2026, and I loved seeing where Mary Magdalene lived. And I wanted to ask you to elaborate on Magdala and on your mission with Magdala, because Mary Magdalene, she kind of brings people together of all different faiths, and she's cited in the Bible. And so I wanted to ask you your mission with Magdala and to share it with the people that are following me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the invitation and for all the people on my little channel here of Instagram. This is Dana and Hamile, and she and her husband travel a bit, and so she is called Faith-Based Traveler. So it's interesting. It's one of the recommendations for vacations when people go on vacations in the summertime, and that's not too far away for a lot of people, in just another month or 2 or 3. They have a faith dimension in their travel, and you could be on the beach all the time, but you could have moments of quiet with the Lord. And you call yourself faith-based travel, so that's a beautiful name also for your presence in the social media world, because it obviously stirs people's hearts to people are looking for something like that showed really in your video, because the way you did your video as well in Zambon was very prayerful, contemplative, and pondered, respectful. It was very open, gentle. So it was. I think that's part of the reason why the people, and there's also a thirst for that. That's what we see here. So I came to the Holy Land about 20 years ago. I'm still a teenager, so next January I'll be 20 years here. And so our role as a community here, and there was a concrete circumstance why we came, but the main purpose of our role is to accompany pilgrims. And the reason we came was because the Vatican stepped in about, I would say, the early 70s, late 60s, so that's over 50 years ago, 55, 56, 57 years ago, to take over a guest house which had been lost to Christian ownership, and got an agreement through Golda Meir, the premier of Israel at the time, to return that to Christian pilgrimage usage, that building, and that's Notre Dame of Jerusalem. And so that was the beginning of our experience here. So the guest house here in Magdala, we started to plan everything, and then in the process of preparing for the work, one of the things you have to do is check the archaeology, if there's anything in the ground that's significant, because there are lots of ancient dwellings and places and cities and towns. So then we found a synagogue from the time of Jesus, and it was an amazing discovery, and it's actually turned out to be the most beautiful synagogue ever excavated from that period in the country, the only one that has frescoes and mosaics conserved. And it has 3 rows of seating and remains of pillars, because there were pillars holding up the roof, stone pillars. And there was a magnificent carved stone inside our synagogue, which has an amazing, rich display of elements from the temple in Jerusalem, like the menorah, the 7-branch candelabra, which is actually the oldest one ever found in archaeology, is on our site. And right now, that's goodness. And that stone is presently at the Museum of the Bible in Washington on display since last November until coming September. Before that, it was in Los Angeles. A few years ago, I went to New York for an exhibit. So we found these great treasures. And obviously, a synagogue from the time of Jesus, actually, the archaeologists were saying it's the first one from that time that didn't have anything else built on top of it, because this is also a kind of a floodplain traditionally. And so nobody built again on there. And the synagogue was relatively perfectly conserved, and this stone was perfectly conserved, and so it became an attraction for Jewish people and also for Christians, because Jesus taught in synagogues in Galilee, and he went on Shabbat on Saturdays from synagogue to synagogue, teaching in their synagogues and healing the sick and delivering people from evil influences. And so there we have Mary Magdalene. At some point she met Jesus. Maybe it was here, maybe it was nearby. Maybe he was walking through the fields in the valley between Mount Arbel, right behind us here. And that's a valley that connects Nazareth to Capernaum. The Jesus Trail is called today, or the Gospel Trail. And who knows when he met her, but it changed her life. And she had a lot of issues. the gospel uses the vocabulary 7 demons. And the theologians debate what that exactly means. But I always say she definitely had some issues. She had some
Don't we
bad
all?
she had some bad headaches, and Jesus relieved her. She was delivered from these trials, these difficulties. And so she was blessed to encounter Jesus, and she was forever grateful.
Yes.
My sister is a consecrated woman of Mary Christian. She works here now for the last 10 years, and she has an incredible way of, in a certain sense, kind of semi-theatrical, like just replaying what would have happened. So the people are gathering in the synagogue, and Mary Magdalene's there, and they would say to her, Mary, tell us, you're different than we ever saw you before, because she was radiant. And tell us what happened. And then she would start saying, well, you heard all about the crucifixion, and I was completely devastated. My eyes were washed out of my face from crying. And then I'm in the garden at the tomb, and I'm worried how to get the stone come back. And he calls me by name. He says, Mary. He said my name. He recognized me. I knew that he knew me. And there he was alive in front of me. He wasn't the gardener. So, and Jesus sent me to go and tell the apostles that he's alive and they should come to Galilee to meet him. So this is beautiful. Mary Magdalene is very, very special witness, and she is a very strong witness, because you'd never imagine that she would be the one to witness to Jesus risen from the dead, because like for the normal people of faith and church and everything, she wouldn't qualify. She had some issues. So she wouldn't qualify, but actually Jesus does the ones Jesus calls. Who would have thought that Saul would have been going to write a third of the New Testament? Poor Ananias thought he was providing good counsel to God, and he said, no, don't tell me. Jesus, don't talk to me about Saul. He's coming to do harm. You have no idea, Jesus. And Jesus could have said to Ananias, you have no idea. He's going to write a third of the New Testament.
None of us know what his plan is for us.
Right.